Hello and welcome back to the UTF podcast with Gavin, Barrett and Elliott Cuff, your hosts. Here are our stuff. We're going to get that out early today. We've got a shorter show for you today, unfortunately.
Yeah, sadly.
Our own fault, really. Bit of a mix-up with the rooms. Not ideal, but what can you do? What can you do? So we're gonna crack on with it. So primarily we're going to talk about football because we're going to run out of time to talk about anything else. Pepsi, cheers, all best. Let's just dive straight into it, I think.
Yeah, so obviously the first story, probably the biggest story of the weekend, was the Cardiff result against Chelsea, sorry. Man City, they come Man City tomorrow. Against Chelsea. Cardiff 1-0 up with about 5 minutes to go and kind of got screwed there, didn't they? Yeah, well, I mean, that's what the story's mainly about. It's the issue we're having with refereeing at the moment because, there's an awful lot of criticism. Every single week someone is saying the refereeing in this country is atrocious, it's bad, it's whatever, but it really did. Really did ruin the game for Cardiff because, 1-0 against Chelsea would have been a fantastic result, especially in the sort of fight to stay in the Premier League, and they really were ruined. Cesar Azpilicueta scored the equalising goal and he was offside by a very clear margin, and then they were denied a red card. Chelsea were. Yeah, when it was through on goal.
Antonio Rudiger took the forward down. Was only given a yellow card when a lot of people believed it was a red. I wasn't overly sure, but if it was a red, it wouldn't have surprised me.
Yeah.
And then Chelsea found the winner.
Yeah.
Shortly afterwards.
Well, the main question is, like I said, the state of officiating in this country, because it is often becoming the cause of most games now, where people are concerned about the state of it, because there's so many decisions that are going against, just wrong. They're just wrong decisions.
It's just not true.
But they generally are just wrong. It's genuinely, obviously you can see Warnock's reaction to the officials after the game, but it generally might have cost Cardiff their Premier League status.
Yeah, I've seen someone online say it could have been 100 million.
It generally could have. For example, Warnock has said it's the best league in the world with the worst officials in the world. And it's hard to argue that fact often as well.
I think it shows how clearly we need VAR, because there are obviously problems with VAR. We see it every single time. Every single time it amends something which would have otherwise gone unnoticed. It then also causes controversy where the referee sees the replay, still makes the wrong decision. But in circumstances like Cesar Azpilicueta's goal, that's what it's made for, because it's so clear. And we saw on Sky Sports the view the linesman had. David Luiz, was it David Luiz?
No, Willian.
Willian was completely in the way, and the referee the linesman could not see Azpilicueta. But from the fans' perspective and from the people watching at home on television, it wasn't even marginally. So there we go. It wasn't even marginally offside. He is offside by so much distance, And it's difficult for someone like Warnock to take, because, as you said, at this point in the season, every single point is so valuable, and to cost him potentially 3.
If you look at it, if you look at the Premier League table down towards the bottom, well, obviously Huddersfield are now relegated. Fulham pretty much gone. There's 4 teams pretty much still in the race for that last spot. And if you look at the table, Cardiff they're 5 points behind Burnley, Southampton and Brighton now. And if you take them for at least 1 point, if Chelsea did score a late equaliser anyway, that's still 4 points, and they still got to play Burnley and Brighton. So it's a massive result for them. If they end up going down by a point or 2 points, I think they'd be at
as you said, if they'd won, they'd have been 2 points behind with the game in hand.
Exactly. So you look at it like that and you think it's generally might have cost them. And if you're Warnock, and you can't really blame Warnock for the way he acted towards the officials, and you can't blame Cardiff fans for being fuming.
We haven't hidden the fact that I'm not a fan of Neil Warnock at all in the past. I think a lot of the time his antics are over the top and unnecessary. But in these circumstances, you can't blame him. He comes on the pitch, he just stares down the referee expecting an answer. They can't give him one. And again, it's difficult. The linesman didn't see. It wasn't his fault. It's the fault of the governing bodies, who should have organised the VAR quicker. It's a joke this season that we've had it in certain competitions, certain games, but not others. But what can you do?
I think everyone who's a football fan, in the Premier League especially, they can't wait for VAR next year. It's in all the big European leagues at the moment, so why is it not in the Premier League? And that's the question that should have been answered before the start of this season. But hopefully, you can only hope the next season it does make a big difference, and we can see officials actually getting these decisions right.
Yeah, people always say they worry that VAR will be used too much. It'll be relied upon to check every single decision in the game, and it'll draw it out, make it like American football where there's stoppages every 5 seconds. But I mean, if you were going to just check the goals every time someone scores, give it a quick check, it's all good, carry on, that would have been cut out. And like we said, it could have been a completely different story for Cardiff.
Because Neil Warnock, his main thing was, he said that the officials just don't understand. Like, they'll apologise, but they don't understand what it actually means to the football club and to the players.
Yeah.
And, like, for example, it's looking really hard.
For the fan base as well.
It's looking really harder, but there could be some staff losing their jobs at the end of the season, possibly because of that result and because of the mistake the officials have made. And you look at it like that and you think, there's actually some people's livelihoods. Yeah. And it does come down, I think some people say the only way officials will learn is if they have to answer for their decisions. So, for example, they have to come out and speak why they made these decisions and calls. But obviously with VAR next year, hopefully they'll cut all that out anyway.
Hopefully. I mean, you still leave it open for referees to make their own error every time they review the footage, but we can only hope that it does improve.
Would you have done what Neil Warnock done?
Or
would you have been a bit...
I probably would have been one of the ones that went into the change room and absolutely kicked the living daylights out of one of the benches or something, but I'm not the most confrontational, but I can understand, you know.
He made a point, didn't he?
He made his point. He also made his point known to Maurizio Sarri, who gave a lot of grief to on the side.
Yeah, we can't really blame him at all.
No, you can't.
Obviously, on to the next story.
Moving swiftly on.
The top 4 race. Obviously, first of all, we beat Watford 2-1 on the weekend. We'll start with us, obviously. Man United fan. Got to go with us, really, haven't we? So obviously we started with Man United. Poor performance. Terrible in reality, especially second half. But we got the job done. And obviously it's 3 points more. We're in the top, joint 4th for Spurs as it stands. Who do you think was going to finish top 4? Obviously, we got Wolves tonight, obviously, before we film this.
I haven't looked too deeply into the table, but from what I would imagine, it would be Manchester City and Liverpool, Tottenham and Arsenal. Man United, I think, have got a very good chance, and if they're in there, it wouldn't surprise me. Chelsea, for me, pretty much out the race.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They've had too much of a mixed season. It would take an awful lot for them to get back into it, but I would put money on Arsenal over Man United, but under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, they're so much more confident, and I've always said that, you know, the test of what makes good teams that can play poorly and still come away with a win. If Everton had played poorly like Man United did against Watford, we wouldn't come out 2-1 winners. So that's the difference.
Yeah, and
if they can maintain that for the final 6-7 games of the season, then they've got every chance of being in the top 4.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, we've got Wolves tonight, which I think is a massive game. I think if we win tonight, we have a really good chance. The biggest game.
Hopefully you do.
Yeah, hopefully for you as well. Which we'll come.
Glad to beat Watford.
We'll come on to that in a bit. Obviously, if we beat Wolves, that helps you, not just us, but also because we got Chelsea later in the season. Well, towards the end, and that would be the massive game, really. I think. I'd be disappointed if we lose to Chelsea because I think they're a very poor side at the moment, and I'd be very surprised if they don't finish 6th.
I saw someone on Twitter say Chelsea are basically Everton with Eden Hazard.
Yeah,
in terms of, like,
that's not a bad call. They generally are, without Hazard, they are generally that bad. But I do believe that we will finish top 4. I think we do have under Solskjaer, we just seem to have that way of winning games even when we are playing badly, which helps us. Like I said, when we're playing Wolves tonight, that'll be massive, and obviously Chelsea later in the season. And if you look at the run-ins for the top 4, obviously that's us tonight. If you look at the runs for the top 4, everyone seems to play in similar teams. There's a lot of the teams around you in Everton and Leicester and West Ham. They all seem to be playing quite a lot of the teams battling for that 3rd and 4th position. And that's something interesting me, that if you look throughout, Arsenal probably got the best run-in, which is why you obviously fancy Arsenal to finish in the top 4. But it's still difficult for some teams like Spurs, got a difficult run-in, but us and Chelsea have all got difficult teams in there.
Yeah, I mean, and as you said, they're going to be playing a lot of games around Everton's area. The race for top 7, which we'll touch on in a second, is very tight as it is, but that only makes it more difficult for the top 4, who have to play those sides and know that they'll all be wanting points themselves. If you're playing the likes of Crystal Palace, it's not that important. They're fairly safe, they're not going to go down, not going to get top 7, no worries. But when you've got the likes of Watford and Leicester and Wolves and Everton coming up in your fixture list, you know that those teams are going to want the wins just as much as you do. So it's going to make for a very interesting end of the season. In that top 4.
It is, because there's only 3 points separating Arsenal in 3rd to Chelsea in 6th. So it is probably the tightest top 4 we've had in years. If you look how many teams are competing for them last spots, because it's not just one spot
anymore. Well, because we still don't know who's going to win the league title.
No, that's true. Yeah.
So for what seems like the first time in a long time, we actually have a genuine, exciting end to the season in terms of who gets what spot. Like I said, going from the champions to top 4 to top 7, it does make it more interesting because if there's a clear runaway winner, if there's a clear runaway top 4, it's just not as interesting.
If you look at the whole top 10 in the Premier League, anyone who's still battling, they could finish. There's no one secured their position in the top 10.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So obviously Liverpool and Man City both battling for first. Then obviously you have the 4 teams you mentioned battling for 4th. The teams battling for 7th. It goes down to probably 11th in West Ham. So if you look at it, there's quite a lot of battles in the Premier League season, and as you said, it does make it look. Well, it's more interesting for not just for fans in the Premier League, but also people from outside
for neutrals,
in Europe, and neutrals, yeah, exactly. So if you look at it and you think, well, you just be excited as any fan to be in this position to try and fight for top 4. Obviously, you'd rather be in Liverpool City's position, guaranteed, but we never thought we'd have that chance when Mourinho left in December, and luckily under Solskjaer we've battled our way back into it.
Well, I mean, it says everything really that Tottenham not long ago were spoken about as outside contenders to win the title. They were not far off Liverpool, Man City. It could happen, and then all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, they've almost dropped out of the top 4. Yeah. So it says a lot for how tight it is, and as we said, that makes it all the more interesting to watch. That's both a neutral and as a fan who is invested. I mean, I don't really care who gets top 4, but it's interesting. It means the games you'd imagine are going to be of better quality. Teams want to win, and it ends the season quite nicely, I think.
Well, Spurs, for example, like you said, they're nearly outside. They're only in the top 4 at the moment, above us on goal difference. So they've generally fallen apart in recent weeks. I think they've lost something like 15 points on their rivals since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer took over. So if you look at it like that, you'd think, Spurs going to keep bottling it. Obviously, they're known as bottle jobs anyway. Will they do it again?
Yeah.
Obviously, they're moving into this stadium as well, starting tomorrow night. Think it can make a difference at the end of the season, their home games? Because if you look at it, they've got a lot of home games left. Out of the 7 remaining games, they've got 5 at home.
Well, I don't know really, because playing at Wembley is very different than playing at your natural home. But when they moved from the White Hart Lane to Wembley, they had a very poor run where they just couldn't get any results under their belt. And now they figured that out. They got back to where they were. But changing stadium this late in the game is always dangerous. And yes, it's different than moving to Wembley because this is their home now. It's going to be where all the home fans are going to get used to. I mean, they're going to make it a great atmosphere, I'm sure.
It's a nice stadium, isn't it?
It is a nice stadium, yeah. And I'm sure the fans are going to give their team all the support they possibly can, but it still makes it difficult. You have to adjust to a new environment, and it really did come at the worst time. Especially when they were meant to move in September, then it was meant to be December, and then it kept getting pushed back and back and back to move into it in April, when you got less than 2 months left of the season and you could very, very well come 5th. It's tough.
So if you look at it, their only away games are against Manchester City and Bournemouth, and obviously the last game of the season is at this stadium against yourselves truly.
It is, yeah.
Which could be a very interesting game for both parties.
Yeah, because we could have a lot riding on that game, and I hope we don't, because we don't have a very good record against Spurs in recent years. They're one of the teams. There's a handful of teams that I don't like playing, Spurs included, and I really hope it doesn't come down to that, but it very well could, and it could very well be a horrible game to sit through.
Well, obviously, as you would have seen, Mark's would have put graphics up of the league table, battle for top 4, and all the positions and fixtures that remain in. Let us know who you believe will finish top 4 this season, either in the comments below or on Twitter, which we will have some polls out with the video. And if obviously we reach this point in the podcast, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We're so close to that 100 mark, we really want to get it.
Drop us a like as well if you can, a comment, a share.
Anything you can to help us.
Anything you can, that'd be massively appreciated.
Obviously, we just mentioned Everton. Obviously, you got Spurs last game of the season, battle for top 7. There's been a more interesting.
Everybody gets Spurs on me.
Yeah, obviously, you just had a good victory over against West Ham, comfortable. Probably one of your best performances I've seen from Everton in months, to be fair. And then this lad goes and overshadows it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. Obviously, Jordan Pickford, Sunderland, born and bred, fan from childhood, and obviously went through the club there. Enjoyed some good times as Sunderland beat Newcastle a couple of times in a row in the league. They're now not in a great position in League One. It's Newcastle Premier League, and he went back to Newcastle for Mother's Day to enjoy his weekend. and has been pictured in a scrap.
It wasn't pictured, it was videoed scrapping with some fans.
Outside a bar or club or something along those lines. It doesn't look good. I mean, Everton at the moment are investigating it. It should be a fairly easy investigation because the videos are very incriminating. There's no way he can hide behind it and go, oh, no, there wasn't.
He has no plausible deniability there.
Him.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what the punishment is there, but I find it's interesting because, as our producer Marcus said, he's England's number one. Should Newcastle fans really be antagonising him like that? Of course they're going to antagonise him because he is Sunderland born and bred. So it's difficult. According to some report online, he was able to take all the abuse he was given until they started giving his fiancee abuse. If that's the case, it's more understandable, but it's difficult. You can't condone it,
No.
but I can understand what's gone through his head. He's still young, he's still stupid. I just hope that he can grow and learn from it and that Everton won't punish him too hard. I mean, we're not going to drop him. We can't afford to drop him. We ain't got anyone else. Martin Stecklenburg certainly ain't going to play, so he's not going to get punished too harshly, but hopefully he can learn from that going forward.
For any who didn't know the story, he was just getting abuse from Newcastle fans, calling him little arms and butterfingers, all that stuff. And yeah, the video just shows that, and then him swinging his little heart out
He starts
against
off by putting his middle finger up and then starts throwing some haymakers. So not the best.
No.
But I'd rather be in the news for other things, but hey ho.
Well, let's move on to actually something that was good for you over the weekend, and that's a nice little comfortable victory away to West Ham.
Happy Zuma's there. The man.
That is actually his middle name, isn't it? As well?
Kurt Happy Zuma. Yeah.
It certainly made you a happy man anyway. So what do you think about obviously the Everton result and what that means going forward for the top four? Because obviously you seem to gain a little bit of form recently. A few clean sheets in a row.
Yeah, it's really positive because we played Chelsea before the international break, and really good result. Didn't expect it at all, but then you approach now you're thinking, all right, we've built up that form. I mean, now we've got the international break. Is it going to disrupt how we've been playing? It always seems to come at the worst time. And West Ham are a side that are also vying for top 7. I mean, at the moment they're in 11th place. They've got 42 points. Everton are on 43. So, I mean, after the win, we're on 43. So at the time, West Ham are above us. So it was always going to be difficult. It's the manner in which we played which is the most exciting. We played really well. One of our best performances of the season. Admittedly, West Ham were atrocious at the back.
Yeah.
And the first half was an onslaught. Everton could have been 5, 6 and 7-0 up. I mean, it really was amazing to see us go forward. We weren't clinical enough in front of goal, but you always have to take the positives to create those chances. Excuse me. To create those chances was great, and to see Zuma get off the mark. See Bernard get off the mark in the Premier League.
I guess if I was an Everton fan, it'd be disappointing for me that it was only 2, because generally it could have been 3 or 4 in the first 20 minutes. Never mind the rest of the game.
Calvert-Lewin had a hammer. He could have had a hat trick.
Yeah, generally, that's generally the issue.
From it with a header, didn't he? So
yeah, it generally could have been more.
Quite a few more. But it's good. We've got a difficult run. We've got Arsenal at home in our next game, and we don't have a good record against Arsenal. And then after that, we've got Fulham, Man United, Crystal Palace. We end the season on Spurs, as you said. We've got a mixture of top 6 sides and easier sides, I guess, like the likes of Fulham and Crystal Palace. And with Leicester, I mean, at the moment, Leicester and Wolves are both 1 point above us. Wolves have got game in hand against you, so hopefully you can do a job there. Watford are behind us by 1 point with a game in hand. West Ham are 2 points behind. West Ham have got Chelsea United in the next 2 games, so they're probably not going to be as much of a threat, but the other sides are all right around us, and we need to make sure that we can take advantage of the points as best as we can, because like I said, we have got that mixture. Thankfully, I mean, Leicester are probably in the best position at the moment. Their next 2 games against Huddersfield and Newcastle. Huddersfield obviously got relegated last week with the joint lowest.
Yeah.
Joint lowest or joint earliest.
Joint earliest with the derby, can't you?
6
going
games
down
before the end of the season. So they've got the easiest run at the moment, but then they know they've got Chelsea, Man United, and who is it? Chelsea, Man City, and Arsenal to end the season with. So their run is easier for now.
In the long term.
And Everton need to bear in mind that if we can keep in contact with them, that when it gets towards the end of the season, we might be able to steal a march. But obviously, Wolves and Watford are also threatening. They've also got a mixed run of games coming up. I mean, Wolves have got Man United, which is going to be difficult, but then they've got Saints and Brighton after that. 2 games you'd expect them to win.
Do you believe Everton can finish 7th and be, well, some would say, the best of the rest outside the top 6?
Personally, I don't think they will, because I think through the course of the season, Everton haven't been the best of the rest. Wolves have been the best of the rest. Leicester have made a late charge. Watford have had a great season. I think Everton will come 8th, 9th. I don't think we'll get 7th, but it's very much a possibility. And if Everton can maintain the form they're currently experiencing, there's no reason we can't do it. But our history, we always let ourselves down.
Yeah.
It's always a stupid error or a mistake. Jordan Pickford will fluff his lines, or will have an awful defensive display and let the whole team down. That's a very negative way of thinking, but it's also an Everton way of thinking. Hopefully we can start to build some momentum going towards the end of the season. Obviously Marcus Silva's going to want to know what his squad is going to be long term, how he's going to shape his team, who he wants to bring in, who he's going to let go. Hopefully he can do that and pick up results on the way, and then we can be in a strong position, because you always look at teams like Everton and you think, well, we haven't had a good season. Would Europa League would that be a good idea? But for a club like Everton, yes, every single time, yes, because it's all well and good for Chelsea and Arsenal to go, oh, it's a bit of a pain, we don't really need it. We'd rather focus on getting back into the Champions League. Everton harbour long-term ambitions of being a Champions League side. How would you get into being a Champions League side? You get better players when you've got the league. How do you get better players with international pedigree? You need to offer European football. So we need to play in the Europa League. We need to boost our image, and we need to attract these bigger names if we're ever going to get to where we want to be. So 7th has to be the goal now. We have to aim for that every single game. Whether we'll get there, I don't know. I don't think so, but I hope so. Fingers crossed.
For me, I think the team I've always backed to finish 7th throughout the season has been Wolves. I think, like I said, they have been the best of the rest for the majority of the season. As compared to other teams, they seem to be the most consistent. Also, they haven't scored as many goals as some people might think, especially the teams around them. Like, I think West Ham, Everton, Watford, all the teams in the battle for top 7 have scored more goals than them. But the difference is they've had the best defence, but quite comfortably as well over the rest of you lot. So something I think they'd be... Well, they've just been most consistent. I think if anyone's going to finish 7th, it would have been them. But as the season's gone on, since this man took over, that's who I thought would finish 7th. They've been in a great run of form since took over. They've won a couple of games, even when they've been down to 10 men. I think they've won 3 in a row now under Brendan. So for me, I think it's going to finish with Everton 7th. Not Everton, sorry. Leicester 7th. I think they'll do enough over the next few games before the tough end of the season. And then Wolves closely behind. Hopefully we beat them tonight. Fingers crossed. Everton probably closely there 9th, Watford 10th and West Ham 11th.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I just think it's going to be, as much as it is for the top 4, it's going to be exciting to see how the clubs perform, because I think, if anything, out of those 4, I mean, West Ham I don't think are going to be in a position I think they'll lose to Chelsea and Man United. I don't think they've got the defence, and after that I think they'll be out of the running. So from the other 4, I think Everton are probably the worst performing of the lot. I mean, at the moment we're above Watford, but I think Javi Gracia has done really well this season. His squad has performed really well.
Would you be happy just to finish above Watford after? Obviously, it's not a rivalry, but the Silva thing, the Charleston thing.
There would be a little bit, because early in the season we did get an awful lot of grief from Watford fans who said,
Watford,
look where you are, look where we are.
Watford Twitter account themselves. Watford Twitter account themselves was giving a big grief, saying obviously we got a better manager and all that type of stuff. And
we've also had to pay compensation for Silva during the season, so if we could finish the season and go, hope you enjoy your money, we're above you, it would be nice. But obviously the clubs, and interests have to come above everything else, and we need to get 7th place for that. But I mean, I'm not feeling too confident, but I never am. I thought we were going to lose to Chelsea, and we didn't. We won easily. So yeah, no, hopefully we will.
So you think West Ham are over then?
I think West Ham, unless they pull off a shock against Chelsea, which they could do because Chelsea are quite poor at the moment, I think they're not looking good. Sorry about the cut. We did mention at the beginning that it was going to be a shorter show because we were under time constraints today, but we've hung around
to make sure.
Ready to go again. We can finish it off. We can make it the normal length. So let's crack right on. I don't know where we left it off exactly. It was a while ago we did it, an hour or 2 ago, so I'm not sure exactly where we left off. Hopefully it's not too abrupt. Hopefully it's a little bit more
we think we ended on West Ham, so we'll go with that.
Well, we think we finished with the football anyway, so we'll move on to the other stories we've got. We've got a little bit about boxing and a bit about Formula 1. But boxing first. Obviously, this was a big event, happened the other day.
Yeah, obviously Price was making, it's his second victory in a row for a change. Decided to come back and he's very interested in returning after a while.
I think he would have expected, or at least not the manner in which he won.
No, he said afterwards, he said himself that he weren't happy with his own performance, and he said Ali said he wanted a rematch, but he said I'm not going in the ring with that animal again. He wants the winner. Yeah, he said I'm not going in the ring with that animal. I said I want the winner of Dillian White against Lucas Brown against David. What was it? winner of Lucas Brown against... I can't remember.
Brazil? Is that
No, it's the...
Okay, it's
David White, sorry. David White, this one.
David White, okay.
Yeah, David White.
Brown against White? Oh.
Yeah. So I know that.
Well, those who don't know, Price fought Cash Ali, who he used to spar with back in the day. And the controversy we're talking about is that Cash Ali somehow bit David Price, despite wearing a what's it called?
A gum shield.
Gum shield. Despite wearing a gum shield, he bit David Price during the 5th round.
That's quite bad, actually.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you imagine that force. Without the gum shield on, to have done that, it's pretty bad.
But apparently, it wasn't even the first time either. It was, I think...
Yeah, it's happened several times.
I counted Tony Bailey around 4 times, so... You've got the ref done the right thing in the end, but maybe it should have been cut sooner.
So obviously, since then, Ali's had his licence suspended upon sort of review, and he had his purse taken away. What's interesting is Price said he used to train with Ali and that it's very out of character. And according to Price, he thinks that Ali did it on purpose, that the earlier bites and the earlier rounds they weren't severe because Ali didn't want to hurt Price because he knew Price, they were friends or whatever, they'd trained before. He only wanted to do it to get out of the fight, which is interesting. Why would he want to get out of the fight? That's what Price thinks.
Yeah, well, the only reason I can think...
Because Price said that he thinks if Ali wanted to do damage, wanted to actually take a chunk out of him, he could. So he's only done it to that degree because it's enough to get him thrown out but not enough to hurt him. You know what I mean?
Unless it's one of 2 things, isn't it? He's either had enough of boxing or Price was lighting him up a little bit.
It's just lost the plot.
Yeah, Price was lighting him up a little bit, so maybe he thought, I just want to get out of here. And instead of just going down, he decided to bite him instead, which is stupid. But
maybe in some really weird way, it's better to be kicked out than to throw in the towel.
Yeah.
Because then he's not giving up, he's not being the coward, is he?
But if you're calling for the towel, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand why he completely did it. But he is idiotic, and Barrett thinks he should be banned from boxing for life. Is that what you think? Do you think that is... Basically, it's just not on, and that's the end. It's Cash Ali.
It's not good, is it? It's not great. It's not as bad as Mike Tyson.
No.
But it's... Yeah, I mean... You have to... It always comes down to boxing. People look at all these different types of fighting sports. You know, UFC, and it's quite savage. Boxing has always been the gentleman's sport in terms of fighting. There's an art to it. It's not just 2 blokes going in and beating the living daylights out of each other. But if you're going to take it beyond that point and get to that level, get biting people... No, you can't be having that. And I think if you're a boxer and you have the opportunity to fight Cash Ali and you've seen what he's done, do you want to fight him?
No, you wouldn't want to. You wouldn't want to get in the ring with someone who's going to try and take a chunk out of you.
Yeah. I think he should definitely be suspended for quite some time. And if it was permanently, then it wouldn't surprise me. And I don't think it would be unfair either, because you have to put a certain amount of trust in the person you're fighting. That you're going to fight, but you're going to stick within the rules. And if you go against those rules in such an animalistic way, then you're going to take what comes to you. Right?
Yeah. Obviously, it's back-to-back wins for Price as well, and it's not both wins are not what he expected or happy with his own performance. But it's good to see him. Well, everyone thought after he got knocked out by what's the Russian called?
There are a few of them.
The one who Joshua ended up beating afterwards.
I know who you mean, but I can't think of his name.
Yeah, well, him. Yeah, should I research this first? Sorry.
Yeah, we had all the research sorted, and then we've been rattled by this interruption.
Yeah, the interruptions cost us. Yeah, but obviously, after he got knocked out by him, I think Price. Everyone thought he might retire. Obviously, he's had a few bad knockouts now, but he's made his way back. Obviously, like I said, a couple of Povetkin. That's the one. Good shout. Yeah, so he got knocked out by Povetkin quite badly. Everyone thought that would be the end of David Price there and then, but he's made his way back, got a couple of victories now, and like I said, he's looking...
Yeah, I mean, it looked certain. Everyone was saying, he's going to retire. He has to retire. He has to go. So, fair play to him. Sticking in there.
And he's now looking, obviously, for a big fight with either Dillian White or... not Dillian White, sorry. Lucas Brown and David White. So, I guess we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't see any
biting. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. On to the last story.
Deathly.
Yeah.
Christ.
You got a feel for the boy.
Up on the screen, it does not make him look good. He looks more like a zombie.
Got a feel for him though. Obviously, for those who don't know, Charles Leclerc, 21 years of age, only his second race of Ferrari, yet second youngest ever to reach pole position. Behind Sebastian Vettel, actually his teammate, who done it for Red Bull years ago, and he was dominating the race. Looks like he's going to win comfortably with about 16, 15 laps to go, and suddenly something happened with his engine. He said to his crew, saying, "What's happening to my engine? Something's wrong. What's going on?" They couldn't really tell him. They find out eventually. Obviously, the horsepower's gone. So the engine power's gone. So they lost 160 horsepower or something like that. And he ended up obviously couldn't use on the straights. Hamilton and Bottas.
He lost 40 kilometres an hour per straight.
Exactly. So he lost a lot of time, and obviously every lap Hamilton and Bottas were catching. From a 20-second lead, he ended up losing to Hamilton, and then he had another 20 seconds with Bottas, and Bottas ended up catching him as well. Luckily for him, with 2 laps to go, the safety car came out with both Reynolds.
Saved him a podium place.
Yeah, because it was a good chance for Verstappen would have caught him, and that would have been no podium for him, which is the last thing he deserved, because he was 100% the best driver on the weekend. He's just really unlucky with his own car.
Yeah, in 3 laps, Hamilton closed an 8-second deficit, which is a big chunk of time, especially so late on the race. It's disappointing. I don't know what this means. I'm not going to pretend I do, but I wrote down what actually happened. Apparently, it was a failure of the MGU-H, which is part of the hybrid system, which recovers energy from the turbo. So I don't know what it means, but it doesn't sound good. And I think as a young driver, it must be even more frustrating when you know that it's not your fault. I mean, for any driver, really.
Yeah, but especially when it's
about because the engine packs in, or because of some technical difficulty, which would be the responsibility of the engineers and not you. It's really frustrating.
It's got to be worse.
Especially if you haven't won before.
Yeah, it's got to be worse for you when you're 20 years of age. You're about to win your first ever Formula 1 race. Put yourself in the title mix early on, and that happens. Like, he ended up finishing third. So he's still there. He still has a chance, obviously, going forward. And I'm 100% sure he's going to get at least one victory this season.
Yeah, podium is podium. You can't take that away from him.
No, he's such talented.
Especially for someone so young to get on the podium.
Because he proved how good he was. He's proved he can compete with Sebastian Vettel. He got pole in front of Sebastian Vettel, and then he obviously overtook him during the race as well, after Vettel already overtook him at the start. So you can see he does have the talent, and you can see he's probably going to be a future world champion. And in my opinion, I think he probably will be, as long as Ferrari keep competing.
I don't know enough about him, and I've seen enough of him to say I think the same. I can't say that I can see him being a world champion, but it does say good things about this current season, that he's already really getting himself up and amongst it. And like we said last time we spoke about Formula 1, we outlined who can challenge Lewis Hamilton. It's always good to see young up and comers. We've got Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc now. So, and
like I said, he proved that he can beat Vettel. So he could be. Ferrari can't really pick Vettel over him at the moment, because Leclerc's competing and at the moment doing better than him.
I mean, it's good to see youngsters come through as well, because you think Fernando Alonso has been around for a long time. Kimi Raikkonen's back in the competition now. There's a lot of drivers that are quite experienced and quite old. You want to see these youngsters come through.
Because another thing, like I said last time to you, was obviously we were on about Sebastian Vettel. You think he's one of the best drivers, and I said he doesn't do well under pressure, and it proved again. Obviously, he was under pressure from Lewis Hamilton, ended up spinning out just from his own cause, and ended up finishing 5th. He actually went down lower than that. I think he was about 9th, and then he obviously overtook a few cars. And Vettel proved again that under pressure, it's been the same for a few years now, since probably his last world title win. He can't handle it, and if that keeps up from Leclerc and the Mercedes boys, I don't really see Vettel competing as well.
Still maintain that most of Vettel's issues have come from his car in previous years. None about this year. I haven't seen the first 2 races.
He spun out.
But in previous years, I still think it's the car.
Obviously, the benefit is from Leclerc's engine problem is Mercedes, Hamilton, and Bottas.
Unfortunately.
I wouldn't say unfortunately. Obviously, I like Lewis Hamilton doing well as a British driver. And
I don't subscribe to the same notion of supporting an athlete just because he's British.
And that's like I like him as a driver. I think he is the best driver.
I'd rather choose on his own merit.
And he is the best driver on the grid.
He's the best driver, yeah, undoubtedly.
So I think he's good for him to obviously get the victory. He said himself he felt sorry for Leclerc. Obviously, because it's not a win he would have had. Bottas as well, who's still leading the Drivers' Championship now, I think, as well. Obviously, he won again in Australia. Second year, looks like he's going well for them and Mercedes at the moment.
I agree. And it should be interesting to see how the season pans out, especially when there's so many people.
Well, the next Grand Prix, obviously, in 2 weeks' time is China, and that's always known as a good Grand Prix to watch. There's lots of overtaking there. So it'll be interesting to see if Mercedes can continue. Obviously, they've started the season with the 2-1-2s. So it'll be interesting if Ferrari can push back and get rid, put the failures of the engine to the back of their heads and push on and push Mercedes to the final, or Mercedes going to dominate again. That's the question, really.
Looking forward to actually starting to watch some of it.
Yeah, because you've missed it so far. But obviously,
it's still football season, isn't it? Still football.
Yeah, I did.
Up at the moment.
Obviously, I watched it on the weekend, especially the Bahrain Grand Prix, and it was an entertaining race. There was a lot of overtaking, and it was just competitive throughout. Another mention I wanted to mention out to is Lando Norris, 19-year-old British driver for McLaren. McLaren seems to be coming back hopefully towards the best, which I'm hoping will end up towards the end of the season or next year. And they managed to get a 6th place, which is massive for McLaren at the moment, the troubles they've had over the last few years. So hopefully, and again, like you said, young drivers, these young and British, it's good for that, for obviously this country, to young British drivers coming through and maybe take the pressure off Lewis Hamilton when he finally retires.
Finally.
I don't understand your hatred for Lewis Hamilton, man.
He's just. I wish that we're not going to go into it.
Yeah, well, that's it for this week's UTF podcast. Sorry about the interruption in the middle, but hopefully you enjoy all our content anyway.
It flows nicely.
Yeah, I will have a few. Hopefully over the next couple of weeks we'll have some more content coming out as well, not just the podcast, but maybe a couple of other videos. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, if you like this podcast, make sure you like the video, leave a comment down below.
Obviously, do all the subscribing to. No, not subscribing, sorry. Following you on Twitter, follow me on Twitter, follow MJS Prod on Twitter.
All the links will be in the description, so just go and follow all of those. Cuff's still trying to catch up. So yeah, go for that. Leave a comment down below on any stories. Leave a comment down below on any stories you want to discuss, or tweet us on Twitter and we'll have a good debate with you or discuss what you think. But yeah, make sure you like this video, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you next time.